Sandra, we really, really appreciate you taking some time to come in and speak with us about this very important issue today. First off, just what do you make of everything that's happened over the last, few days, few weeks, and even a few months here with what's going on in the city of Winnipeg?
Well, I think that what is happening right now is really an issue that has been going on for many years. I mean, the National Inquiry had said the matters around Indigenous women and girls is nothing less than genocide. So we see it in its active practice, day in and day out.
Well, and touching on the Winnipeg Police, they had said it's up to the Indigenous community basically to do the search of the landfill themselves and to come up with the resources and all of that. I mean, what do you make of that? I understand there's a statement that went out calling for resources, right?
Yes, well, our statement really solidified because of the comments of the chair of the Winnipeg Police Board, who basically said to the Indigenous people, again, you're on your own. The resources that we have are not for you. So we collectively, the MMIWG Implementation Committee, the representative political organizations of chiefs in Manitoba got together and wrote a letter to the federal minister seeking, first of all, the oversight of the United Nations Special Rapporteur on Indigenous issues. Also, resources to conduct a feasibility and a search plan, and resources for the impacted families, and the ability to move on considering the RCMP take over the, not the investigation, but the recovery. And we also believe that there may be others that have been missing that may be in those sites as well.
Right. So why did everybody see the need? Was it the announcement, or was this something that was maybe planned even before what was said by the Winnipeg Police Board?
It has been. We have been working on this particular matter since the police had announced that it wasn't feasible, and we asked the question, why not? And so we know that the chiefs were all in Ottawa last week doing their work, and the implementation committee was here in Winnipeg doing their work, and together, we put all our resources and our thoughts together about how this can move forward with the input of the Indigenous community.
Now, I know a lot of your work involves working with the Indigenous community specifically and within communities. What are you hearing from them? What are they saying about what's going on, and maybe what they would like to see happen?
Well, our comments are based upon input from families and community members. We've had opportunities to meet with the community twice last week and seek direction on how they wanted to proceed with this. So I think we are doing what we can, based on real-time input from community members.
And this is something that you had mentioned at the start of the show, that this has been ongoing for years and years and years, and doesn't seem like it's getting any better. What would you like to see in the next coming days, weeks, and months leading up to maybe eventually a point where we can stop all of this violence?
Well, in this time and space right now, we want to ensure that all level of governments take the safety of Indigenous women and girls, take that seriously and find ways that they can, change their policies and practices to begin to turn the tide of this ongoing genocide. On an ongoing basis, on one hand, we're dealing with very specific life and death issues, safety issues, and we've talked about safe injection sites. We talked about basic livable income, shelter for those that don't have shelter, and those were all, part of the 231 calls to justice. 24/7 low barrier safe shelter. So we need to put some dollars, governments need to put some dollars behind that, those 231 calls to justice, and have them enacted now. We're losing this battle.
Well, I think, I can't remember exactly who it was, it might have been yourself, but somebody had said it's 231 calls for justice, not 231 calls for hope. Right? Is that, and I remember seeing that, and I said, well, that's really what it is all about, right? And how you just mentioned, like, we need concrete, dollars, we need this in order to be able to have all of that, right? Like, is that what you're saying, basically, with it's the calls for justice, not calls for hope right now, which it seems like a lot of it might be right now.
Well, yeah, I mean, for years, it has been about justice, and we think that we're in a situation now when we had the Aboriginal Justice Inquiry, we had the Royal Commission, we had the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, we had the National Inquiry, and each time our people, led with their tears and commitments by government to create change. But what we found is that nothing has changed. So people can see that they can murder Indigenous women without impunity. So we need to see that because we're the highest population that is murdered, that it is in fact a hate crime, and that people need to be charged and tried on that basis. Nothing less is going to change the situation.
Well, and why is that specifically so important to this, to all of this that's happening as well?
Well, because laws haven't changed. People that go before the courts for the murder of Indigenous women are generally charged with maybe 2 manslaughter. But I can, give the Winnipeg Police credit and the Crowns for actually, in this matter, having 4 separate charges of first-degree murder. That is unheard of when it comes to an Indigenous woman in this country. So I think they got that right. It is the dignity of the remains of the women. It's about closure. It's being able to say goodbye for the families that we need to be able. That is just as important as the charges.
And I believe it's 11 Indigenous women have been murdered here in Winnipeg this year, and Statistics Canada said in their latest 2021 report there were 45 Indigenous women victims of police-reported homicide. And we're here now, and did you ever think that 3 years out from the end of the National Inquiry that these numbers would be getting worse even than when it had started?
Well, no. I had expected there to be some action, but it will keep getting worse until there is action.
Well, and for those that are out there and at home and they're watching this, I mean, for a lot of people it can be disheartening to keep seeing these numbers getting worse, especially when it pertains to Indigenous women and violence against Indigenous women. I mean, we've talked about maybe what can be done, but as an overall arching theme, I mean, what do you say to those at home that are looking for something to base off of in terms of it getting better or change coming?
Well, what I would say to Indigenous women and girls is it's not our fault. It's not our fault that governments have failed to act. However, we are strong and stronger together, and we can keep pushing together to create safer spaces for ourselves, for our children and our grandchildren. There's no other option. And it's not about hope, it's not about resilience, it's about human dignity, and we deserve it.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a great way to say that, Sandra. I think that's a wonderful way to maybe leave our conversation for now. Obviously, this is something that's not going to be going away anytime soon, and it needs the action, and it needs, to be constantly covered. So I want to say a big thank you, Miigwech, to you for taking some time out of your day and sharing what you think needs to be done and what needs to happen for this to eventually, hopefully, end. So thank you, Miigwech.
Miigwech.